The cameras were rolling, the red carpet laid neatly beneath his feet, national flags fluttering in the cold Ankara breeze, and the world watching as Nigeria's president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, stepped forward on Turkish soil for what was meant to be a routine but symbolically powerful state visit. In diplomacy, optics matter just as much as policy. Every handshake, every smile, every step is weighed and interpreted. And then, in a brief, unexpected moment that rippled across social media within minutes, President Tinubu stumbled and fell. Before we continue, this is a passionate appeal. Analytics from YouTube show that 96% of those who watch BrainSpot Media haven't subscribed to BrainSpot Media. When you subscribe and like this video, you help BrainSpot Media to grow and help this video reach a wider audience. Please like this video, subscribe, comment your thoughts, and share. Thank you. Let's continue. It was not a dramatic collapse. It was not a medical emergency. It was a simple misstep, the kind that happens to human beings every day. Yet, when it happens to a sitting president, on foreign soil, under global cameras, it instantly becomes something more than just a slip. It becomes a story, a symbol, a political talking point. And in Nigeria's charged political climate, that single moment has sparked debates far larger than the fall itself. Within minutes of the footage circulating, reactions flooded in. Some expressed concern, wishing the president well and commending him for rising quickly and continuing the visit with composure. Others, however, seized the moment as political ammunition, interpreting the fall as evidence of frailty, unfitness, or deeper systemic issues. In Nigeria, where politics is rarely gentle and never boring, even gravity itself becomes politicized. But before we drown in interpretations, let's ground ourselves in the facts. President Bola Tinubu was in Turkey on a state visit aimed at strengthening diplomatic and economic ties between Nigeria and Turkey, particularly in trade, defense cooperation, infrastructure, and energy partnerships. Turkey remains one of Nigeria's strategic partners outside Africa, with significant investments in construction, manufacturing, and aviation. The visit was, and remains, diplomatically significant. During a ceremonial moment, as the president approached a designated spot, he tripped and briefly lost balance. He was quickly assisted, regained composure, and continued with the event. There was no prolonged interruption, no evacuation, no medical alert. Yet the clip traveled faster than any official communique ever could. And that is the nature of modern politics. The camera often speaks louder than policy. For supporters of the president, the narrative is simple. He is human. People trip. Leaders stumble. It does not diminish their authority, intelligence, or leadership capacity. They argue that focusing on such a trivial physical incident distracts from the real business of governance and diplomacy. For critics, however, the fall taps into a deeper conversation that has followed Tinubu since his election. The question of age, stamina, and transparency around the physical readiness of Nigeria's leaders. To them, this moment was not just a stumble on a red carpet, but a stumble on the global stage, one that raises uncomfortable questions Nigeria has long avoided addressing openly. And this is where the story becomes less about Turkey, less about a misstep, and more about Nigeria's political culture. Nigeria has a long history of leaders whose health was shrouded in secrecy, misinformation, and political spin. From military regimes to civilian administrations, the health of the president has often been treated as classified information rather than public concern. Citizens are expected to trust blindly, even when the consequences of leadership incapacity affect national stability. So when Nigerians saw their president fall, the reactions were not only about the fall itself, they were about decades of accumulated distrust, silence, and unresolved anxieties. But let's be clear, a fall is not a diagnosis. It does not automatically mean incapacity. Even the youngest and strongest individuals can stumble. The danger lies not in acknowledging vulnerability, but in weaponizing it dishonestly. Yet, optics remain powerful in politics. Whether we like it or not, leaders are judged not only by their decisions, but by how they appear while making them. A leader who appears strong reassures citizens. A leader who appears weak, even momentarily, invites speculation, fair or unfair. The question then becomes, how should Nigerians interpret this moment responsibly? First, with humanity. Leaders are not immune to gravity, fatigue, or accidents. Treating every physical slip as proof of incompetence dehumanizes leadership and encourages a toxic political culture. Second, with accountability. Citizens have the right to demand transparency about the health and capacity of those who govern them. Not in a mocking way, but in a civic way. If a leader is unfit, the nation must know. If a leader is fit, the nation should be reassured with facts, not propaganda. Third, with perspective. Nigeria is facing serious challenges: inflation, insecurity, unemployment, currency instability, education crises, energy shortfalls. Compared to these, a momentary stumble should not dominate the political conversation for weeks, unless it reveals something deeper that leadership refuses to confront. And then there is the international angle. On the world stage, every detail matters. Diplomacy thrives on perception. A confident, composed leader projects stability. A leader who appears vulnerable, even briefly, risks inviting unnecessary scrutiny, not just from critics at home, but from foreign governments assessing Nigeria's political continuity. However, the Turkish authorities handled the moment with professionalism and courtesy. There was no embarrassment, no awkward interruption, no visible panic. The event continued smoothly, signaling respect and diplomatic maturity. In many ways, that response tells us more about the quality of the visit than the fall itself. Now let's talk about social media, the true engine that turned a minor incident into a national debate. In today's Nigeria, news no longer waits for official confirmation. It breaks on Twitter, explodes on TikTok, mutates on WhatsApp, and evolves through memes faster than journalists can write headlines. In that environment, nuance often dies. Some users shared the clip with genuine concern. Others edited it with dramatic music, slow motion, and sarcastic captions. Some compared Tinubu's fall to those of other world leaders, Biden, Trump, Macron, while others framed it as uniquely Nigerian political failure. But here's the truth. Leaders across the world have tripped, slipped, stumbled, fainted, coughed, and recovered, and yet continued to govern powerful nations. What matters is not the fall. What matters is what follows. Does the leadership become more transparent? Does governance improve? Does policy shift? Do citizens' lives change? Because while cameras captured Tinubu falling in Turkey, millions of Nigerians are still falling daily under the weight of economic hardship. That is where the real political story lies. If Nigerians spend more time analyzing the president's balance on a red carpet than analyzing the balance of their economy, then the political narrative has already failed. And yet, symbolism cannot be ignored. To many Nigerians, the fall symbolized a disconnect between power and people. A reminder that those who stand on global platforms are not immune to the realities they govern. For some, it was a humbling moment, proof that leadership is not divine, not invincible, not above physical limits. For others, it was an uncomfortable mirror, reflecting concerns they already had but could not previously articulate. But let us also be careful not to reduce a man's entire presidency to a single clip. Tinubu's administration will ultimately be judged not by how he walks, but by how he fights corruption, how he manages the economy, how he secures lives and property, how he reforms institutions, how he unites or divides the nation. These are the metrics of leadership, not the angle of a stumble. Yet, moments like this serve as reminders. Leadership is fragile. Authority is human. Power is temporary. And history does not remember perfection. It remembers impact. So as Nigerians debate, joke, criticize, and defend, let us not lose sight of the bigger picture. A fall on foreign soil should not blind us to the falls happening at home, in hospitals without equipment, in schools without teachers, in roads without safety, in markets without stability. If anything, the incident should reawaken our demand for a political culture that is honest, transparent, and mature enough to separate human moments from governance failures, and bold enough to confront both when necessary. In the end, President Tinubu rose from that fall and continued the visit. That in itself is a metaphor Nigeria must reflect on. The nation has fallen many times, through coups, corruption, economic collapse, insecurity, and broken promises. The real question is not whether a president can fall. The real question is whether Nigeria can rise. And that Dear viewers, is the story behind the story. If you like this video, please help Brainspot Media to grow and reach a wider audience. Subscribe to this channel, turn on the notification bell, smash the like button, comment your thoughts, and share this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.